So today we're going to talk about one of the most important items in your position as a real estate professional, and that's your protecting your listing. Um, the reason I'm saying protecting your listing and I'm not saying get the listing is because we spoke in the past about how you get the listing, what do you do, how to get the listing every time, and so on and so on. But I will keep talking about this because this is getting a listing is the most important task as we as real estate professionals should have on our agenda. The reason that is because a listing is an inventory. It's very simple. We have to treat our business as a real business. And the moment we treat our business as a real business, we need to have an inventory. The only inventory that we can have is to have listings. So the moment we have listings, we have something to sell. And this way we're protecting our destiny. We setting up our destiny. We're setting up um, our business plan. This is how we control ourselves. So I'll move on. I'll touch this in a second, but let's move on. So for those of you over here, and I see few of you, what do you feel when you get a listing? Anybody can write me. What do you feel when you get a listing? Excited. Very good. Excellent. Heaven. Probably. Randa, I don't know, but Randa, I promise you, very shortly you will have that feeling. I promise you. Diana, super excited. Very good. Excellent, guys. So basically, we feel like we won the World Cup. Is that correct? We won something. It's a super exciting feeling. It basically an achievement. The next excitement feeling after that is to actually close the transaction. And basically, we are fulfilling the purpose of what we do in our business. Very simple. So um, because of that, because of the excitement, and because of the nature of what we do in order to succeed in our business, um, I want to talk today about how we're protecting that precious item, which called the listing. Um, let's go a little bit about what the listing agreement is talking about, giving us the right. And before I go to that, I want to make I want to mention something. We don't, as real estate professional, we are under the supervision of the BRE and many other government entities. The only contract that gives us power or gives us right is the listing agreement. Basically, the BRE, the moment you have a listing agreement, the way the BRE and the California Association of Realtors, the moment you got that, nobody can take that away from you. But sometimes and I'll get to that, sometimes we have to make sure that we did the right thing. But this is a very strong contract. And that's why, of the reason, it's very important that we go and try to get this contract, contrary to other contracts, is because of the power that these contracts give us during the time. Naturally, there are also liabilities like fiduciary duty, which I talk a lot, but we're talking right now about the power. So when we get that trophy, let's see what that trophy gives us. So first of all, as you can see, and I highlighted a few things in yellow, it gives us the amount of commission. So this commission, you get this, okay? You, each and every one of you that got the listing, that 6% commission belongs to you. It doesn't say anywhere that it belongs to somebody else, and I want you always to remember that. And I'll come back to that when we're going to talk about what happens if it's canceled. So that 6% commission, it says that it's paid to the broker who signed that listing agreement. And I want you to make sure that you understand that. There is nowhere under the contract that it says that it's going to be paid to somebody else. It's only you. So 6%, 5%, whatever number that you put there comes to you and belongs to you. And it says here, as you can see in yellow, seller agree to pay the broker the compensation. So this is the one thing of the foundation of what you guys need to understand. Let's protect that. So in respective of agency relationship, basically it doesn't matter what other relationship we have the agency, that broker will get paid. Now it's either of the listing price or any purchase price that we will enter. But the listing price is very important, and we'll get to that in a minute. Okay. Another thing that it says on the first page of the listing agreement is that during the listing period, if the agent procure a ready, willing, and able buyer whose offer to purchase was accepted by seller, we own the commission. And why I'm putting this in here? Because we have many situations that sellers is in a breach of contract. Why seller is a breach of contract? It means that the seller signed, the buyer is really and ready to, willing and ready to close, and suddenly the seller decided not to sell. And I can tell you that in 1 year it happens to me about twice. Because of that, the buyer has a legal action right to go after the seller for a breach of contract. But that clause, guys, give you, the brokers, the agent, a legal right for your commission. So which means that if the buyer was ready to close and is under the breach of contract and the buyer is sending the seller a notice to perform or a demand to close escrow, and the seller breached the contract, we as a real estate broker entitled for our full commission. So what we're going to do, we're going to sue the seller for the full amount of commission that indicates here, and then we will have to pay the other side. So that's one of the rights. So I want you to remember that. That listing agreement is very, very strong. Now, another one which is extremely strong, and we will talk further about this, if the seller, without a previous written consent, withdrawn from sale, conveyed, lease, rented, otherwise transfer the property, we still entitled for a full commission. What does it mean? And I've seen sellers, and I'm going to talk about it shortly about cancellation. What does it mean? It means that if the seller suddenly doesn't want us to sell the property, he wants us to cancel, and we don't want to cancel. So some sellers think that they are smarter than anybody else. They transfer the property to somebody else, and they say, okay, that's somebody else. They sold the property, not us. So that doesn't mean anything, because conveying means that they transfer the property to somebody else, or transfer, as you can see here. So that doesn't still be protected, and we can go after the original seller and the next seller. So that's another thing. Now, the only thing, and I think somebody just asked me, and I don't remember who it was, there is another situation when the property is going to foreclosure. Actually, it's being foreclosed. You don't need to do a cancellation. It's an act of law. So act of law would strip you from your listing rights. You don't need to sign anything with your seller, and you just inform the MLS that the listing was cancelled. Another thing I want you to know about this is that if, for example, we talk about the liquidation rights, the liquidation damages, and if for some reason, for some reason, the buyer breached the contract and the seller collected the liquidation damages, which is sometimes 3%, but it could be even higher if it's an investment property. You, the broker entitled to at least one half of the damages covered. So, for example, if the liquidation damages was about, I don't know, $20,000, the broker is entitled to uh, the broker is entitled to one half of it. So that's something that I want you to have in mind. It's very, very important, and and that's going to give you the strength before somebody else is trying to get you on that. Okay, so let's talk about, are we canceling listing agreement? Okay, we have a seller after a week, after 2 weeks, after 3 weeks, after a month, doesn't like us anymore. Is that possible, guys? Yes or no? Yes. Okay. Could be that the seller says to us, you know what, you don't do enough open houses. Could be that the seller will tell us, hey, you got the listing and you went on vacation for 3 weeks. I want to cancel this. Could it be? Nobody's typing? Okay. Or he wants to give it to a friend. Excellent, Diana. Or he wants to give it to a friend. Exactly. Suddenly he found out that he has a friend or he has a relative that can take the listing for 1% less. But you know what? This is too bad. Because are we canceling listing agreement as a company policy? Are we canceling a listing agreement? Yes or no? No, of course not, guys. It's a one big no. We are not canceling listing agreement. Okay? Our listing agreement is gold. And let me show you why. Okay? This one page, very good, Orion. I like that, capital letters. This one page gives us the right to sell the property between this date and this date. Okay? And until that date, okay, and this one was for over a year. Until that date, we do not cancel unless, and I'll get to that, unless other things. But we have the right for commission. Forget about the right to sell the property. Let's say the seller doesn't want to sell us to sell the property, but we have the right to collect our commission. Now, I want you to remember one thing. If the seller wants you to cancel and it doesn't want to sell anymore, you cannot force the seller to sell. I want you to understand that. So there are two different things. Selling the property or collecting your commission or canceling your right for the commission. The BRE will protect you. The BRE will be behind you, and I know for a fact that if you don't want to cancel a listing agreement, nobody can force you to do that. And remember that. So this day over here, it's gold. Nobody can strip you from your rights. And I want you to remember that. However, and before I get to the however, how many people over here are joining us to Mike Ferry in 10 days from now? How many people? Who's joining us from the list here? Mark, okay, very good. Rene, that was, I know Ninad. Jessica, very good. Mitzi, very good. Clyde, wonderful, Clyde. Excellent. Guys, we're not talking about the listing agreement. The reason we go to Mike Ferry and the reason we go again and again and again is because we want to have control of our destiny. We want to treat our business as a real business. We want to have the tools. We want to have the language. We want to have the motivation to go and get those listings. And I can tell you that myself, I go there every year. I go also during the winter to the San Diego. And the reason I go, and I mentioned it to many other of you, and I know everything that he says, and sometimes there's a few things that are new. I want to make sure I don't forget. Some of you will say, no, it's Boeing, it's this and that. I know there's nobody perfect, but we go there to make sure we don't forget. We go there because we have to keep training ourselves, because we have to be a listing machines. We go there because this is very important for our career. Now, you think that I like to go to Vegas in when the temperature is 150 degrees out there and sit down on my butt for 8 hours a day? No, I don't. But it's very important for my career and the career of the agency in this company. So again, if you do not, if you have financial issues to go there, and that's the reason that you don't go, please come to us, go to your manager, come to me, and I promise you, we're gonna work it out. Don't let this something like that stop you from having another step in your career. So let's move on. I say my things. So let's move on. So let's see situation. I want to show you three situations that why in the company we let go of a listing agreement. Now I mentioned that we do not we don't cancel listing agreement. However, here's a listing agreement signed by one of our agents. Okay, the seller wanted to cancel. I don't remember why here, but it's not important. The seller wanted to cancel. So I said the first thing I said it's not we're not canceling. And then I asked for the listing agreement. Now take a look at this page of the listing agreement. Hopefully you can see that and tell me why at the end I decided that we will cancel that. Anybody can tell me. What is B, Mom? Write it down for everybody. Just write it down. Write your explanation, guys. And written. What does it mean, Renee? Very good, Lach. No SLA form. What's the end written, Renee? Okay, well, explain me. You have to explain. What's wrong about going with end written and going to the listing presentation and end written the contract? We can do an end written contract. Very good, Renee. Excellent. No initial by seller, guys. We have a template, okay? And we have an end written. Next to the end written, we don't have initial or signature by the seller. Very good, Renee. Okay, so basically, the seller can come to us and say, oh, you put this there. I didn't agree to that. So this would put us in this situation. Now, we might go to arbitration and fight this, but some of you heard from me already that I usually, actually never, go to arbitration or go to court if I don't know for 100% that we will win. Okay, for 100%, not even 95%, 100%, because it will take time, energy, bad energy, and I want to stay out of it. So in this situation, very good, Renee. The agent didn't initial, the seller didn't initial. But there is another thing that, like Lilac said, that no SLEM, because there is it says here, seller to be excluded from the MLS until seller get approval. Now, there is no initial next to it. It is another issue, but there is no, as we can see here, there is no check the box here. Now, this is not a big problem for us in front of the seller. It's a problem in front of the MLS because we were supposed to send this exclusion to the MLS within 48 hours. So we will be fined by the MLS, but that's the least of our concern. Let's say we're willing to get fined, but continue the listing. But we didn't want to create a big fuss out of it because naturally we didn't have within the initials. Shai, Paul, what do you mean by vague? By the way, what I mean initials is this is important and this is important. Two very major items are very, very important and not initials. This is minor, okay, but it's important as well, but it's important in regards to the lack of this form. Shai, Shalom for the next purchase. I don't know what you mean, Shai. So let's move on because I'm running out of time. I want to show you another example. This is a listing agreement. Naturally, I came across this listing agreement because the seller wanted to cancel. And my first impression was, no, we're not canceling. The seller called me, so we're not canceling. And she was so insistent and she was very nasty. And then I asked for the listing agreement. Do you think I can go to court with this listing agreement? Yes or no, guys? No way. Very good. So definitely we cannot. And there is no way we can win with all this nonsense that it's written here. No. Something completely different. When a seller is sued on MLS, it's got nothing to do with your own counsel. It's not on the MLS. So we have to send it to the MLS, but it's not on the MLS. But something like that, for example, definitely there is no initials, no signatures. It's a mess. So we didn't do anything. We canceled it right away. And what we did, I'll show you in a minute. So when you get to that situation, guys, when you sit and the seller is ready and say, okay, let's do it. Guys, take a deep breath and write a perfect listing agreement. It's not that difficult. So easy, guys. Listing agreement is by far easier than a purchase agreement. By far. It's by far more important, but by far easier than a purchase agreement. So take the time, take a deep breath, go over every letter, because in the event that the seller wants to cancel or dispute this, we're going to have a tough time argue this. Now, I want to show you another one that just came yesterday. An agent took a short sale listing, and he texted me yesterday, not yesterday, on 4th of July, and look at what the things that he writes. Okay, take a look what he writes. This is what the agent wrote me on the things that the seller tells him. And the agent is asking me for an advice. What should we do? Okay, everybody can read this. Okay, so basically, we have a situation with a very mentally disturbed person, and naturally, the safety of our agent is by far worth more than any listing and any money, and I didn't want to take that risk. The agent agreed with me, and yesterday we sent him a cancellation. Paul says that sounds like, oh my God, that's nice. Okay. If the seller, Mitzi, if the seller is mentally unstable, that's not correct, because as Paul is saying, most of our client is mentally unstable. The listing is not valid if the seller is lawfully incapacitated to sign it. So if he's mentally in mental institution or certified mentally, he the contract might not be valid. It's a good point, because any contract is not valid if it was signed under duress, if the Sino was mentally incapacitated, uh, um, or physically incapacitated, uh, and he is underage, and other things. So yeah, but this one sounds like a perfect guy when he signed this, but after that all the demons came out, and we decided to cancel, and the agent agreed with me. I don't want the agent to get in any riskiness to that. Now, I show you three situations. So in these situations, what we do, we send the cancellation and we check the box over here. Principals owe no compensation to broker. Very simple. Goodbye. We don't want any relationship and we move on with our life. We're staying away from negativity. However, guys, when we have a good listing agreement and the seller wants us to cancel, we cannot force the seller to cancel. However, we have something gold, which I told you, this is gold. Okay? So when we have this good listing agreement that protects us and we have a full commission and it's written properly, okay, what we do, we can do a cancellation. Now, before that, you know what, I don't have time to give you, don't have time for that. So what we do, okay, we cancel the listing because we cannot force anybody to use our services. So before, I was under the strategy that we don't cancel. We move it to withdrawal. The MLS will protect us. It's going to be in withdrawal. It means that we still have the listing. Nobody else can list the property. If I have time for a minute, I'll show you that we found out that the MLS is not protecting us. So if you were withdraw, somebody else can put it in inactive. However, let's assume that we say, you know what, we don't want anything with you guys. So we check box number 1. Guys, this is major. We check this box, okay, and we say, okay, we're willing to cancel, but principal agreed to pay commission the above compensation in the listing. Period. Very simple. If they sold the property, conveyed the property, did anything to the property, we're entitled for this commission. Now we have another option. Let's say we market the property for 3 months and we did something and we want to cancel, but we show the property, we had offers on the property. We can do section B, write down the names of the people. Okay, write down the name of the people that are going to be under protection clause, which basically, if you remember the protection clause in the contract, in the listing agreement, the protection clause for the rest 180 days or any other day, anybody that you're going to put on the list is going to be yours. Okay, it's going to be yours. Now you can put the list here, or you can send an email and put a list like this agent did, all the people that he puts under his protection. I wanted to show you about how we found out the MLS is not protecting us, but we don't have much time. So just remember, from now on, every time that somebody wants to cancel, we're going to cancel and we're going to check the books, one, because we cannot force. Any other questions, guys? We made it to 10 o'clock. Mary, are you asking what do you do about the mentally unstable? Yes. Okay. We decided not to report anybody because we are not psychiatrists. We're not professional. We're just simple people who wants to make bread. We want to stay out of negativity. We want to stay out of problem. It's the same thing that I will not ask you to do door knocking in Skid Row. Okay, we're staying out of problem. And the last thing we want to say is report to somebody that is unstable, and we're going to be facing a lawsuit of slandering. So that is not something we want to be. Thank you very much. It's yours. Give me a loan. Bye bye. Any other questions? Okay, guys, stay out from the heat. Enjoy the day. Enjoy the weekend. Don't forget to prospect. And for those of you who wants to think about Mike Ferry, come to us. Adios. Bye bye.